I never imagined my marriage would unravel in the middle of an overpriced restaurant. But there I was, sitting in La Belle Maison, drenched in red wine, my wife's furious glare burning into me as gasps filled the room. The sharp scent of alcohol clung to my skin, soaking into my shirt, but the cold humiliation cut deeper than the chill of the liquid. The waiter, frozen mid-step, gawked at the scene, his silver tray trembling in his hands. Other diners, men in tailored suits, women adorned with glittering jewelry, whispered behind manicured hands. Their wide eyes darted between Lauren, her mother Margaret, and me, the man foolish enough to think tonight was just another expensive dinner. It was never about dinner. It was about control. Margaret leaned back in her chair, wine glass still delicately pinched between her fingers, amusement dancing in her eyes as if she had orchestrated the entire event. Maybe she had. Lauren had always been her puppet, groomed to believe that a husband existed only to provide, to cater, to fund. And I had spent 5 years playing the role perfectly. Until now. The bill had arrived, neatly folded in a leather case, and when the waiter set it down between us, I already knew what was coming. Lauren didn't even glance at it. She never did. She simply pushed it toward me, her silent command clear. Pay. But tonight, something inside me shifted. The weight of every drained account, every maxed-out credit card, every weekend trip to Paris, just because sat on my shoulders, and I felt it. The unbearable truth. I had built a gilded cage for her, and she had willingly locked me inside. I set my glass down carefully, wiped my mouth with my napkin, and said the words that shattered everything. I'm not paying for this. Lauren's fork clattered onto her plate. Margaret's eyebrow arched. Excuse me. Lauren's voice was sharp, her smile faltering for the first time all evening. I met her gaze evenly. I didn't order half of this. I had a steak. You and your mother had lobster, caviar, and 4 bottles of wine. If you want to live like royalty, you can start paying like it. A slow silence crept over the table, thick with disbelief. Lauren's lips parted, then curled. Her manicured nails tapped against the glass stem as her face twisted in fury. And then, in one swift motion, she grabbed her wine glass and threw it in my face. The world blurred red. The cold liquid soaked through my shirt, dripping down my jaw, but the shock lasted only a second before I heard it. Margaret's laughter. Not a gasp. Not a reprimand. Laughter. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place. This was never just about money. It was about humiliation, dominance, the expectation that no matter how badly they treated me, I would stay. Not tonight. I reached up, wiped the wine from my face, and stood. My chair scraped against the polished floor, the sound slicing through the stunned silence. Lauren's breath hitched. Sit down, she ordered, voice shaking. Pay the bill, or this ends here. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't just done with this dinner. I was done with her. I leveled my gaze at her, my voice steady. You're right. This ends here. Margaret's smirk faltered. Lauren's eyes widened in disbelief. I pulled out my wallet, but instead of reaching for a card, I grabbed a crisp $100 bill and dropped it on the table. That should cover my steak and the tip. Then, I turned and walked away. Lauren sputtered behind me, calling my name, but I didn't look back. Not when the waiter called after me, not when Margaret hissed under her breath. For the first time in years, I didn't care. As I strode past the shocked faces of the restaurant patrons, I felt it. The weight lifting, the suffocating grip of obligation unraveling. I reached the entrance, my hand brushing against the glass door, but before I pushed it open, I did something Lauren never expected. I took out my phone, turned on the camera, and recorded. I turned back, locking eyes with her across the restaurant. Go ahead, Lauren, I said, voice calm but unyielding. Explain to everyone why you think throwing wine at your husband is acceptable when he won't pay for your mother's extravagant dinner. A ripple of hushed murmurs spread through the restaurant. The phone in my hand caught every detail. Her stunned expression, Margaret's stiff posture, the way Lauren's perfectly constructed facade began to crack. She had always counted on my silence. But tonight, I had found my voice. Lauren's jaw clenched. Her hands curled into fists. Margaret's smirk was gone. For the first time since I met her, she looked uneasy. I didn't wait for a response. I ended the recording, slid my phone back into my pocket, and pushed open the doors. The cold night air hit my damp shirt, sending a chill through me, but I didn't stop. I kept walking. Behind me, the doors swung shut. And with them, I shut the door on everything else. I kept walking. The city's night air wrapped around me, sharp and cold, but nothing compared to the chill that had settled inside me. My shirt was still soaked with wine, sticking uncomfortably to my skin, but I barely noticed it. I was too busy listening to my own footsteps, steady and deliberate, echoing on the pavement, to the pounding of my own heartbeat, racing with something unfamiliar. Freedom. 4 or 5 years, I had been shackled to a marriage that wasn't built on love, but on power. Lauren's power, or more accurately, Margaret's. My wife had been raised to believe a husband was nothing more than a bank account with a beating heart, a man whose sole purpose was to provide for her every indulgence, no questions asked. The moment I questioned it, the moment I dared to say no, she reacted like a spoiled child denied a toy, and I had enabled it. Every vacation to places I had no interest in visiting, every luxury designer bag that I was guilt-tripped into buying, every dinner where the bill was silently slid toward me with the expectation that I would pick it up without complaint. But tonight, I had reached my limit. I wasn't just walking away from a restaurant. I was walking away from them. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't check it yet. I knew who it was. Lauren. Maybe even Margaret. Maybe both. I could already hear the excuses, the justifications. You embarrassed me. You're overreacting. This was just one dinner. No. This wasn't about one dinner. This was about 5 years of manipulation. 5 years of being used, dismissed, taken for granted. 5 years of watching my hard-earned money disappear into the void of Lauren's endless wants and Margaret's approval-seeking demands. I finally pulled out my phone when I reached my car. Lauren had texted 6 times already. Come back. Let's talk. You're being dramatic. If you leave, don't bother coming home. Good. I had no intention of going home. Instead, I did something that Lauren would never have expected. I drove straight to Chris, my best friend. Chris had never liked Lauren. He had been polite, sure, but never enthusiastic. He saw through her in a way I hadn't been willing to. And Margaret? He despised her. I pulled up outside his place and barely knocked before he opened the door. He took one look at me, my stained shirt, the set of my jaw, and shook his head. Tell me you finally left. I exhaled, stepping inside. I walked out. Chris let out a low whistle. About damn time. I sank onto his couch, the exhaustion catching up with me. It's bad, man. I should have left years ago. Chris grabbed 2 glasses and poured us both a drink. The burn of scotch was welcome, grounding. So, he said, settling across from me. What happened? I told him. Every detail. The $3,500 bill I refused to pay. The wine in my face. The public humiliation. Margaret's laughter. Chris listened, expression unreadable, until I got to the part where I pulled out my phone and started recording. That got a smirk. Damn, you finally played offense. I nodded. I'm done being their punching bag. He leaned back, watching me. You know this isn't over, right? I knew. Lauren wouldn't let go easily. Margaret definitely wouldn't. Chris sighed. Look, man, I don't want to kick you when you're down, but you need to check your accounts. If she's that entitled, she might already be planning to bleed you dry. I hadn't thought of that. The scotch turned bitter in my mouth. Lauren had access to our joint account. She had access to my credit cards. For years, I had trusted her with them, even as she recklessly spent. Now, I had no doubt she'd see my leaving as a financial threat. I need my laptop. Chris grabbed his from the kitchen counter. I logged into my online banking, my hands tense on the keyboard. The numbers loaded, and my blood ran cold. Money was missing. Not just the usual overspending. Not just the luxury purchases. Transfers. Lauren had been moving money to an account I didn't recognize. Secretly. Consistently. I checked the dates. The first transfer was 2 years ago. 2 years. That was when I started pushing back. When I stopped blindly agreeing to every single one of Margaret's manipulative requests. This wasn't just spending. This was theft. Chris saw my expression. How bad? I swallowed hard. She's been funneling money out for years. A long silence stretched between us. Chris let out a low whistle. Damn. And I thought she was just a gold digger. Turns out, she's a full-blown con artist. I exhaled, my mind racing. Lauren wasn't planning for a future with me. She was preparing for a life without me. That realization settled in my chest, heavy and suffocating. This was never a marriage. It was a heist. And I had been the target. Chris watched me, waiting. So, he said finally, what are you going to do? I closed my laptop, my jaw tightening. I'm going to do something Lauren never expected. Chris raised an eyebrow. I met his gaze. I'm going to play the game. Lauren thought she was in control, that she was untouchable. She had no idea that I had just decided to fight back. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't just reacting. I was about to make my own move. By the time I left Chris's place, it was well past midnight. The city was quieter now, the hum of traffic subdued, the streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement. But inside my head, there was no quiet. Only a storm brewing, my thoughts relentless, circling the truth I could no longer ignore. Lauren had been stealing from me, not just spending recklessly, not just living beyond her means. She had been methodically draining my accounts, siphoning money into a separate fund for years. 2 years, to be exact, the moment I started pushing back against Margaret's endless demands. It had never been about our marriage. It had never been about us. It was about control, power. And when she felt her grip loosening, she didn't just tighten it. She prepared for my eventual escape, ensuring that if I ever walked away, I'd be financially ruined. But she had made one mistake. She underestimated me. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I parked outside my condo, taking a deep breath before stepping out of the car. I didn't know what I expected when I opened the door, but the sight that greeted me confirmed one thing. I had made the right decision leaving that restaurant. Lauren was waiting for me. She sat on the couch, legs crossed, her phone clutched in her manicured hand. The second I walked in, she stood, arms folding across her chest. Where the hell have you been? I didn't answer. I just locked the door behind me and stepped inside, my gaze scanning the room. The place looked the same. Nothing was out of order. But something about the way she was standing, the tension in her shoulders, told me she hadn't spent the last few hours sulking. She had been plotting. I tossed my keys onto the counter. It's late, Lauren. You humiliated me tonight. Her voice was tight, controlled, but beneath it, I heard the strain, the desperation. No, I said. You humiliated yourself. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You walked out. You made a scene. I scoffed. I made a scene? You threw wine in my face, Lauren. You laughed about it with your mother while the entire restaurant watched. And now you're mad because I left? She took a step forward. I was angry. You refused to pay the bill. I refused to be used. I corrected. A flicker of something crossed her face. Panic, maybe. She wasn't used to this version of me. The man who didn't just roll over and accept whatever she demanded. Her voice softened, an old trick she had mastered long ago. Baby, let's not do this. We can fix this. I laughed. Actually laughed. The audacity. Fix this. I repeated. Fix what, Lauren? The fact that you and your mother have treated me like a goddamn ATM for years? The fact that I finally said no, and instead of talking like an adult, you threw a tantrum like a spoiled child? Her jaw tightened. The sweet act was already slipping. You're blowing this out of proportion. I pulled my phone from my pocket, unlocked the screen, and turned it toward her. Am I? Lauren's eyes flickered to the screen. Her brows furrowed. What is that? That, I said, my voice steady, is a record of every transfer you've made to an account I don't recognize. Every single dollar you've taken from our joint account behind my back. Her breath caught. For a split second, she was speechless. Then, she did what she always did. She lied. You're crazy. That's not. I just moved some money around for us. Us. I repeated, taking a slow step forward. You've been funneling money into a secret account for 2 years, Lauren. You don't get to act like this was for us. The panic was creeping in now. She was smart enough to know I wasn't bluffing. It's not what you think, she tried again. I was just saving for. For what? I cut her off. For the day I finally got tired of your bullshit and left? For the day Margaret convinced you to walk away and take every last penny from me? Her silence told me everything. I exhaled, shaking my head. You were never planning to stay, were you? Lauren swallowed hard. That's not true. Save it. I muttered, shoving my phone back in my pocket. I don't care anymore. Her eyes widened. She expected anger. She expected a fight. She didn't expect indifference. That was the thing about people like Lauren. They thrived on emotional reactions. On yelling. On begging. I wasn't giving her any of it. She took a step forward, reaching for my arm. Baby, please, let's just sit down and... I pulled away. No. We're done. Tears pricked at her eyes. The final act. The one she had used on me so many times before. But I wasn't that man anymore. I'll make you regret this, she whispered. I nodded, heading for the bedroom. I'm sure you will. I shut the door behind me, locked it, and leaned against it, my chest rising and falling. I had walked away from the restaurant, but this was bigger than that. This was the moment I walked away from the marriage. Lauren would fight. She would scheme. She would try to destroy me. But for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. She thought she was the one playing chess. She had no idea I had already made my move, and she would never see the next one coming. I barely slept that night. Not because of regret, not because of heartbreak, because of anger. The kind of anger that sits in your chest like a burning coal, simmering, refusing to cool down. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through everything I had discovered. The missing money, the secret account, the betrayal that had started long before I ever realized I was married to a woman who didn't love me, only what I could give her. The weight of that truth should have been suffocating. Instead, it felt liberating. By the time the sun began to rise, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I rolled out of bed, ignoring the stiffness in my shoulders, and grabbed my laptop from the desk. If Lauren had been hiding money from me, I needed to know exactly how much she had taken. The moment I logged into our joint account, I saw it, the pattern. Small withdrawals at first. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. Nothing that would raise alarms. But as time passed, the amounts grew larger, bolder. 10,000, 20, 50. By the time I scrolled to the most recent transactions, my stomach twisted. $150,000. Gone. Not spent on vacations, not blown on handbags or jewelry. Transferred. Moved into an account under a name I didn't recognize. I clicked on the details, but the recipient's information was limited. I couldn't access where the account was based or who exactly owned it. But I knew one thing for sure, it wasn't mine. I gritted my teeth, my fingers tightening around the edge of the laptop. She had been planning this for years. This wasn't reckless spending. It wasn't mindless shopping. This was premeditated theft. And I had let it happen. I pushed the laptop away, exhaling sharply. No, I wasn't going to let this break me. I wasn't going to sit here like a fool while she drained me dry. Lauren thought she was untouchable. It was time to remind her who she was dealing with. Step 1. Protect what's left. The first thing I did was log into every financial account I had. Joint account? I transferred the remaining balance into an account in my name only. Credit cards? Frozen. Automatic payments? Canceled. By the time I was finished, I had effectively cut off her access to my money. And that was just the beginning. Step 2. Find the truth. I needed to know exactly where my money had gone. Lauren wasn't smart enough to pull this off alone. She was lazy when it came to anything that didn't involve shopping, socializing, or planning the next vacation, which meant someone else had helped her. Margaret. The name was like poison on my tongue. I had never liked my mother-in-law, but I had tolerated her for Lauren's sake. Now, I saw her for what she really was, the mastermind. She had trained Lauren, molded her into someone just as entitled, just as manipulative. It made perfect sense. Lauren wasn't just stashing money for herself. She was funding Margaret, too. I needed proof. There was only one person who could help me. Step 3. Call in reinforcements. Chris answered on the second ring. You don't sleep, do you? I need a favor. There was a pause. Then go on. I need to find out where the hell Lauren has been moving my money. Chris let out a low whistle. You're really doing this, huh? She stole from me, man. For 2 years. I'm done playing the fool. Silence stretched between us. Then, all right. Give me an hour. Chris wasn't just my best friend. He was a financial analyst. Numbers were his language. If anyone could track where the missing money had gone, it was him. And if he found what I thought he would, Lauren wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose everything. Step 4. Confrontation. I didn't have to wait long. Less than an hour later, Chris sent me a text. You're not gonna like this. I dialed immediately. Tell me. Chris sighed. Lauren's been moving the money into 3 accounts. One under a name I can't trace yet, one under Margaret's name, and one under someone else's. A beat of silence. Who? I asked, though I already knew I wouldn't like the answer. Chris hesitated. Some guy named Tyler. Tyler. The name felt like a slap to the face. Who the hell is Tyler? I muttered, already feeling my blood start to boil. No idea, but I did some digging. He's been receiving payments from your wife for the past year. A year. A year of stolen money. A year of lies. And now, I had a name. I didn't say anything for a moment. Just sat there, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles ached. Chris's voice was cautious. What's your next move? I exhaled slowly, forcing my temper under control. I want to see her face when she realizes she's lost. You sure about that? I thought about it. About the years I had wasted. About the humiliation of having wine thrown in my face. About the way she had laughed when I walked out of that restaurant. I nodded, even though Chris couldn't see me. I've never been more sure. Step 5, the face-off. Lauren was in the kitchen when I walked in. She looked up, eyes still puffy from whatever fake crying she had done after I walked away from her last night. You didn't come to bed, she said softly. I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the bank transfers, and slid it across the counter. Lauren's face went pale. Where's my money, Lauren? Her lips parted. 1,000 lies, 1,000 excuses, all fighting to escape at once. But I wasn't in the mood for games. I leaned in, my voice low and calm. Who the hell is Tyler? Her breath hitched. She wasn't expecting that. She blinked. I don't. Don't lie to me. My voice was dangerously quiet. I know everything. Lauren stared at me. For the first time since I had met her, she looked scared. Good. She should be. Because this was just the beginning. Lauren stood frozen, her fingers gripping the marble kitchen counter so tightly her knuckles turned white. She wasn't expecting me to know about Tyler, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I saw something new in her eyes. Fear. Not guilt. Not remorse. Fear. She knew she had been caught. I leaned forward, my phone still on the counter, displaying the bank transfers she thought she had hidden so well. I'll ask again. Who the hell is Tyler? Lauren swallowed hard, her carefully crafted mask slipping for a fraction of a second before she attempted to recover. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, forcing a weak chuckle. You're being paranoid. I laughed. Actually laughed. A slow, cold chuckle that made her flinch. Paranoid. I echoed. You've been funneling money into a secret account for 2 years. You've been sending payments to a man named Tyler for a year. And you think calling me paranoid is going to fix this? Lauren's mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. She was scrambling for an excuse, some kind of explanation that would make me doubt my own sanity, a tactic she had used before. But I wasn't that man anymore. Let me make something clear, I said, my voice steady. Lying won't save you. Not this time. Her shoulders squared, and just like that, she switched tactics. You're being ridiculous, she scoffed, tossing her hair over her shoulder. Tyler is just a friend. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. A friend. She nodded, gaining confidence. Yes, a business associate. He helped me invest some of my money. I picked up my phone and scrolled to one particular transaction. $30,000 to Tyler Richards on March 12th. Want to explain what business investment required that much money? Lauren's jaw clenched. I don't have to explain anything to you. There it was. The arrogance. The entitlement. The belief that she could lie her way out of anything. Fine, I said. Then let me explain something to you. I picked up the laptop from the counter and turned it toward her. The screen lit up with a document I had prepared in the past hour. A financial report of every shady transaction she had made, complete with timestamps, recipient details, and total amounts. Lauren paled. You were stealing from me, I said, keeping my voice calm. And now? I have proof. Her breathing quickened. I didn't steal from you. That money was mine too. I arched an eyebrow. You mean the money I earned? The money I worked for while you and your mother spent your days drinking overpriced cocktails and shopping for things you don't need. She crossed her arms. You're my husband. That means what's yours is mine. I smiled. Then what's yours is mine too, right? Lauren faltered. I leaned in, my gaze unwavering. Because by that logic, the money you took belongs to me too. And I have every right to take it back. The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken threats. I could see it in her face, the realization that I wasn't bluffing. What do you want? She finally asked, her voice quieter now. There it was. The shift. The moment she understood that she was no longer in control. I pushed the laptop aside and folded my arms. I want my money back. Every last cent. She scoffed. That's not going to happen. I grinned. Oh, I think it will. Lauren narrowed her eyes. And if I refuse? I leaned in slightly. Then I'll do exactly what you and your mother never expected. She swallowed hard. And what's that? I pulled out my phone again and clicked on my recent recording, the one from last night at the restaurant. The moment she threw wine in my face. The moment Margaret laughed, enjoying my humiliation. I pressed play. The room filled with the sound of Lauren's voice, her entitled demand echoing through the kitchen. Pay the bill, or this ends here. Then the gasps from the other diners. The sound of chairs scraping against the floor as people turned to watch the spectacle. The unmistakable laughter of her mother. Lauren's face drained of color. "What are you doing?" she whispered. I smirked. "I'm taking control." I clicked on another file, the financial document I had compiled. Then another, screenshots of our text messages, proof of her threats, her demands, her manipulation. Lauren visibly paled. "You wouldn't," she said, but I heard the waver in her voice. "Wouldn't I?" I countered. "You see, Lauren, I've played the fool for years. But now, I'm done. And if you don't return my money, I'll take this public. Your social circle? Your reputation? Gone." Her breath hitched. "And that's just the beginning," I continued. "Because if I take this to the police, if I tell them my wife has been stealing and laundering money through secret accounts." Lauren physically flinched. I nodded, pleased. "Yeah, I thought so." She swallowed hard, her nails digging into her palms. "You're threatening me." "No," I said, smiling coldly. "I'm giving you a choice." Her lips trembled. She knew she had lost. "What do you want?" she whispered. "Simple," I said. "Transfer every stolen dollar back into my account. I'll be watching the transactions. The moment I see it's all there, I'll walk away." Lauren was shaking now, her hands curled into fists. "And if I don't?" I tilted my head. "Then you lose everything." For the first time, Lauren didn't have a comeback. No witty remark. No manipulative excuse. Just silence. I pushed away from the counter and grabbed my jacket. "You have 24 hours. Her head snapped up. 24 hours for what? I didn't even turn around. "To fix your mistake," I said simply. "Or I'll fix it for you." Then, without another word, I walked out. I didn't need to look back to know Lauren was terrified. And she damn well should be. Because for the first time in our marriage, she wasn't calling the shots. I was. The moment I walked out of the house, I felt it, the shift. The balance of power had tilted, and for the first time in our marriage, Lauren wasn't the one in control. The air outside was crisp, but my body was burning with a fire that had been long overdue. My phone was still in my grip, the weight of the evidence inside it pressing against my palm. Every stolen dollar, every shady transaction, every lie she thought she had hidden, I had it all. And now, I just had to wait. I got into my car, gripping the steering wheel tightly. I could have driven anywhere, Chris's place, a hotel, even to a bar just to clear my head, but I didn't. Instead, I parked at a nearby overlook, the city lights stretching out before me, a quiet contrast to the storm brewing in my life. I needed to think. Lauren had 24 hours. 24 hours to return every cent she stole. But would she? No. I knew her. Knew how her mind worked. She wouldn't surrender without a fight. She'd try to find a way out, a way to turn this back on me. And if she couldn't, she'd go nuclear. My phone buzzed. "Lauren." I let it ring. She called again. Then again. Then a text popped up. "We need to talk." I exhaled sharply, staring at the screen. A month ago, those words would have made me drop everything. Would have sent me scrambling to fix things, to make it right. But not anymore. I typed back a single word. 24 hours. Then I turned off my phone. Tonight, I'd let her sweat. The next morning, I woke up early. I hadn't gone back home, hadn't spoken to Lauren, and as much as part of me wanted to storm into that house and demand answers, I knew better. I had to wait. Lauren's next move would tell me everything. I drove to Chris's apartment, knowing he'd be awake. He opened the door with a raised eyebrow, already sipping his morning coffee. "Let me guess," he said, stepping aside. "She's panicking." I walked in, rubbing my jaw. "Oh, she's more than panicking. She's trying to figure out how to screw me over before I screw her over." Chris smirked. "So what's the plan?" I sat down, running a hand through my hair. "I'm giving her until midnight to return the money. But I don't think she will. She's too stubborn." Chris leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Then you need to be ready when she retaliates." I looked up. "You think she will?" Chris snorted. "Oh, absolutely. You just turned the tables on a woman who's been in control for 5 years. You think she's just going to hand you the victory?" I sighed. "She's going to make this ugly, isn't she?" Chris nodded. "You need to be 2 steps ahead, man." Because if I know anything about people like Lauren, if she can't win, she'll try to take you down with her. I already knew that, but hearing it out loud made it real. Chris grabbed his laptop. All right, let's be smart about this. If she's going to fight back, we need to make sure we're ready for whatever she throws at you. I watched as he pulled up my financial records, double-checking the security of my accounts, looking for any potential gaps. But the real storm? It arrived 2 hours later. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when my phone buzzed again. Not Lauren. Work. I frowned, answering immediately. Hello. My boss's voice was tight. We need to talk. Now. A knot formed in my stomach. What's going on? There was a pause. Then, Lauren just called HR. My grip on the mug tightened. What? She filed a complaint against you. The world blurred for a second. A complaint for what? I asked, my voice steady but tense. Financial abuse, my boss said flatly. I let out a sharp laugh. You're kidding. Wish I was. She's claiming you controlled all the finances, cut her off, and emotionally manipulated her through money. My jaw clenched. She was playing the victim. Chris was watching me closely now, his expression darkening. Tell me you saw this coming, he muttered. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Look, you and I both know this is bullshit. My boss hesitated. Do you have proof? I almost laughed. Oh, I have proof, I said, my voice low. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll send you every bank statement, every transaction, and every record that proves she was the one draining my accounts, not the other way around. Another pause. Then, send it over. I hung up and turned to Chris. I told you she'd go nuclear. Chris exhaled. She's desperate. I nodded, pulling up my files. Which means she knows she's losing. Within minutes, I sent everything to my boss. Proof of every transaction Lauren made behind my back, every time she moved money into secret accounts, every dollar she took. Then I sat back and waited. An hour later, my boss called again. We're throwing out the complaint, he said, his tone firmer now. She has no case. But I'm telling you now, she's not done. I already knew that. Lauren was unraveling, and I was about to push her off the edge. By the time I got back to the house that evening, I was ready. Ready for whatever storm she was going to throw my way. Lauren was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, her foot tapping impatiently against the floor. You got me fired, I said before she could speak. Her eyes flickered with something, satisfaction. You deserve it, she said coolly. I scoffed. You really thought HR was just going to take your word for it? She swallowed hard. I don't know what you're talking about. I smiled. I sent them proof of every single bank transfer you made. Every dollar you stole. Every lie you told. Her face drained of color. I leaned in. You tried to ruin me, Lauren. And you failed. Her breath hitched. You bastard. I smirked. I told you. You have until midnight to give me back my money. If you don't, this only gets worse for you. Her hands curled into fists, but she said nothing. She knew. She finally knew. She had lost. And there was nothing she could do about it. The moment I walked away from Lauren, I knew she had finally realized the truth. She was cornered. For years, she had played me, manipulated me, treated me like an ATM with no limits. She had lied, stolen, and expected me to sit back and accept it. But now, she knew the game was over. And yet, I also knew she wouldn't go down without a fight. That's why I didn't go to bed that night. Instead, I sat in the guest bedroom, laptop open, monitoring my bank accounts like a hawk. I had locked everything down, frozen every credit card, changed every password. Lauren had no way to take more from me. But that didn't mean she wouldn't try something else. And at exactly 3:27 a.m., she did. My phone buzzed, the notification lighting up the darkroom. It was from my bank's fraud department. Unusual login attempt detected. Did you attempt to access your account from an unrecognized device? I exhaled slowly, a grim smile forming on my lips. She was desperate. I tapped the no, this wasn't me, option, locking the account down even further. Then, just to be sure, I logged in myself. There it was. An attempt to transfer $50,000. To Margaret. Of course. I sat back, rubbing my jaw, my mind working quickly. Lauren wasn't just trying to take what was left. She was trying to salvage whatever she could for her mother. And she had failed. Again. At this point, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. By the time morning rolled around, I was ready. I showered, dressed, and stepped into the living room, where Lauren sat curled up on the couch, her arms crossed. She hadn't slept. I could tell by the dark circles under her eyes, the twitch in her fingers. She looked up when she saw me. I said nothing. I just smiled. Her jaw tightened. What? I tilted my head. Did you sleep well? Her eyes flashed. Cut the crap. You know damn well I didn't. I stepped closer. Why? Because you were too busy trying to steal from me again. She flinched. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and showed her the fraud alert. Her face drained of color. Don't. I cut her off, my voice calm. Don't lie. You tried to take another $50,000 and send it to Margaret. She swallowed hard. It was my money too. I laughed. No, it wasn't. And you know it. She clenched her fists. Fine. You win. You got what you wanted. I arched an eyebrow. Did I? Lauren shot up from the couch. I'm done with this. I'll just go to my lawyer and... I cut her off again. You don't have a lawyer, Lauren. She froze. I smiled. Did you forget? You don't have access to my money anymore. You don't have the funds to fight me. She blinked, realization hitting her like a freight train. I had taken away her only weapon. And now? She had nothing left. For the first time in years, I saw the real Lauren. The one who had always been hiding behind the expensive clothes, the designer jewelry, the smug entitlement. Beneath it all, she was just scared. And I didn't feel bad. Not anymore. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You have two options. She swallowed. One, transfer every stolen dollar back, and I walk away. No lawsuits, no cops, no public humiliation. Just a clean break. She hesitated. And the second option? I smiled. I take you and your mother down. I expose every fraudulent transaction. I go to the police, the IRS, whoever I need to. And when I'm done, I leaned in. You and Margaret won't just be broke. You'll be in handcuffs. She visibly paled. Checkmate. For a long moment, she just stood there, staring at me, her breathing uneven. Then, finally, she broke. She turned, grabbed her phone, and started tapping furiously. A minute later, my own phone vibrated. A bank transfer confirmation. I checked the screen. Every dollar was back. I exhaled slowly. It was over. Lauren stood there, her hands shaking, her eyes darting to mine. Happy, she snapped. I didn't answer. I just picked up my keys and walked out. That was the last time I saw her. Lauren didn't try to contact me again. No texts, no calls. By the time the divorce papers were filed, she had already disappeared from my life completely. Margaret, on the other hand, she tried. 2 weeks later, I got a voicemail from her. You don't understand what you've done. My daughter is ruined. She has nothing now. Do you really think you won? I laughed when I heard it. Because yes. Yes, I did. Lauren had spent years playing games, treating our marriage like a financial heist. And in the end, she lost. And I walked away with my freedom. For years, my life had been built on illusions. A perfect marriage. A beautiful home. A wife who smiled for the cameras but sharpened her knives behind my back. Now, I was watching it all collapse. Lauren had stolen from me, lied to me, tried to ruin me when I caught her. But she lost. I had won. But victory didn't feel the way I thought it would. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't exhilarating. It was just quiet. And that, more than anything, told me just how broken this marriage had been. The aftermath. Lauren had vanished after I walked out that day. No calls. No texts. She was gone. But Margaret? Margaret wasn't done. The first voicemail came a week later. You selfish bastard. You destroyed my daughter. Are you proud of yourself? I didn't respond. The second voicemail came the next day. You think you've won? You'll regret this. I promise you. I deleted it. The third voicemail. You're not just divorcing Lauren. You're divorcing power. And you, my dear, will never recover from that. That one made me laugh. Power? Lauren and Margaret never had power. They had manipulation. They had greed. And now, they had nothing. I blocked Margaret's number after that. I was done with her threats, done with whatever delusion she was still clinging to. But life wasn't that simple. 2 weeks after the money was returned, I got a call from Chris. His voice was tight. Turn on the news. I frowned. What? Just do it. I grabbed the remote, flipped to the first major news channel, and there it was. Margaret. On the screen. But not in the way she wanted to be. Not as a powerful socialite. Not as the wealthy, untouchable woman she pretended to be. She was in handcuffs. The public downfall. I turned the volume up, my heart pounding in my chest. Breaking news. socialite and former real estate investor, Margaret Caldwell, has been arrested for fraud and embezzlement. Authorities confirmed that multiple offshore accounts have been frozen as part of an ongoing investigation into financial misconduct and money laundering. I sat back, my mind spinning. She really thought she was invincible. Even after Lauren had to return my money, even after everything came crashing down, Margaret must have believed she could still win. She must have thought she could find a way to keep her power. Instead, she ended up on national television in handcuffs. Lauren's fate. My phone rang again. This time, it wasn't Chris. It was an unknown number. I let it ring twice before answering. A familiar voice, shaking. "Are you happy now?" "Lauren." I exhaled slowly. "Lauren." She scoffed. "Don't act like you're surprised to hear from me." I leaned back. "What do you want?" There was a long pause. Then, she laughed, but it wasn't her usual smug, condescending laugh. It was hollow. "Did you know my mother was stealing from me too?" she asked bitterly. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. "She took everything," Lauren whispered. "Everything I had left. The accounts, the investments. She drained them before she got caught. I have nothing now." For a second, just a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered. I remembered the years of manipulation, the deception, the lies. I remembered the whine in my face, the humiliation, the entitlement she had worn like a crown. Lauren had lived her life thinking she was above consequences. Now, she was learning what it felt like to lose. She let out a shaky breath. "I need your help." I closed my eyes. "You have some nerve." "I don't have anywhere to go," she snapped. "I thought we could." I cut her off. "Stop. Just stop." Silence. Then, her voice dropped. "I know I messed up." I sighed. "No, Lauren. You didn't just mess up. You stole from me. You used me. You tried to destroy me when you realized I wouldn't let you walk all over me anymore." "I wasn't thinking straight," she whispered. I shook my head. "You were thinking just fine. You just thought you'd never get caught." Lauren said nothing. For the first time, she had no comeback. I let the silence stretch. Then, finally, I spoke. "I'll make this easy for you, Lauren. Whatever you thought was going to happen after all of this, it's not happening." She inhaled sharply. "You can't just walk away." I laughed. "Lauren, that's exactly what I'm doing." And then, I hung up. I stared at the phone for a long moment, then placed it face down on the table. Lauren wasn't my problem anymore. And for the first time in years, I was completely free. The moment I hung up on Lauren, a strange sensation washed over me. Relief. A weight I hadn't even fully realized I was carrying lifted from my shoulders. No more manipulation. No more lies. No more walking on eggshells, constantly second-guessing myself. For the first time in years, my life was mine again. But even as I let out a slow breath, I knew one thing. Lauren wasn't done. She had nothing left. No money. No home. No mother to fund her lifestyle. And people like Lauren? They don't know how to exist without someone to leech off of. She was going to try again. She was going to beg. And if that didn't work, she was going to threaten. And I needed to be ready. The divorce papers. The next morning, I walked into my lawyer's office, feeling lighter than I had in years. I had already mentally checked out of this marriage, but now, it was time to make it official. My lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, was an older man with a sharp gaze and a no-nonsense attitude. He glanced up as I walked in and gestured toward the seat across from him. "I assume you're ready to finalize everything." I nodded. "More than ready." He slid a folder across the desk toward me. "Your wife has no grounds for alimony, no shared assets in her name. And given the financial records you provided, she has no claim to anything you own. Legally, she's entitled to nothing." I leaned back, exhaling slowly. Nothing. Lauren had spent our entire marriage spending my money like it was an unlimited resource, treating me like a walking paycheck, and now, she was walking away with nothing. It was poetic. "Send the papers," I said. Mr. Caldwell nodded. "She's going to fight this." I smiled. "She can try." Lauren's last stand. I didn't have to wait long. By the time I got home that evening, my phone was already blowing up with calls from Lauren. I ignored them. Then came the texts. "You're being cruel. We need to talk. After everything we've been through, I deserve at least a conversation. You can't just leave me like this." Each message was more desperate than the last. Then, at 11:45 p.m., the final text came. "Fine. If you don't want to talk, I'll see you in court." I chuckled to myself, shaking my head. Lauren still thought she had leverage. She didn't realize she was out of moves. The courtroom showdown. 2 weeks later, I found myself in a courtroom, sitting across from the woman I had once vowed to spend my life with. Lauren walked in dressed for war, a designer dress, heels, hair styled to perfection. But I could see it in her eyes. She was nervous. She knew she was losing. She knew she had nothing. The judge, an older woman with a no-nonsense expression, glanced at the paperwork in front of her. Mrs. Reynolds, you are requesting alimony from your husband. On what grounds? Lauren straightened her shoulders. I sacrificed for this marriage. I built our life together. I should not be left with nothing. I didn't react. The judge turned to my lawyer. Mr. Reynolds, do you have a response? My lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has provided extensive financial records proving that his wife did not contribute to their shared wealth. In fact, we have evidence that Mrs. Reynolds stole over $150,000 from their joint account and attempted to launder funds through her mother's accounts. Lauren's face drained of color. The courtroom went silent. The judge turned back to Lauren, raising an eyebrow. Do you have a response to these accusations? Lauren's lips parted, but for the first time in her entire life, she had no words. The judge let the silence stretch before sighing and setting down her papers. Mrs. Reynolds, given the evidence provided, your request for alimony is denied. This court sees no reason why Mr. Reynolds should continue to financially support you after your fraudulent activity. Lauren physically flinched, but the judge wasn't done. Furthermore, Mr. Reynolds has grounds for legal action against you should he choose to pursue it. Lauren's head snapped toward me, panic flashing across her face. I simply sat there, watching. Mr. Reynolds, do you wish to press charges? The judge asked. Lauren was staring at me now, her breath hitching, her fingers digging into her lap. I let the silence stretch. Then, finally, I spoke. No, Your Honor. I just want this to be over. The judge nodded. Very well. Divorce granted. Lauren let out a shaky breath, shoulders sagging. She had walked into this courtroom thinking she could win. She had lost everything instead. The last conversation. I walked out of the courthouse, the sun bright against my face. I was free. But as I reached my car, I heard her voice. Wait. I turned. Lauren stood there, her makeup flawless, but there was nothing left in her eyes. For the first time, I saw her for who she truly was. Not the confident, powerful woman she pretended to be, but someone who had built her life on lies and didn't know what to do when those lies collapsed. I don't understand, she whispered. I tilted my head. Understand what? She swallowed. Why didn't you press charges? I studied her. Then I smiled. Because you're not worth the effort, Lauren. Her breath hitched. She opened her mouth, but I was already turning away, already walking toward a future that didn't include her. She had spent years taking from me, but she would never take another second of my life again. And that was the greatest victory of all. I walked away from the courthouse that day and never looked back. No hesitation, no regrets, just a feeling of finality, a chapter closing, a weight lifting, a man stepping into his new life without the burden of a woman who had spent years draining him. I didn't rush to celebrate. There was no party, no night of wild drinking, no dramatic moment of realization where I threw my wedding ring into a river. No, my freedom felt more like a slow inhale after years of drowning. And for the first time in 5 years, I could finally breathe. The first days of freedom. The first thing I did was move out of the house. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Every inch of that place reeked of Lauren's entitlement. The designer furniture, the overpriced artwork she insisted we had to have, the ridiculous chandelier she bought for the entryway with my money. I wanted none of it. So, I packed my essentials, called a realtor, and put the house on the market. Lauren had already lost her access to my bank account, and now, she was about to lose the lifestyle she thought she deserved. I rented a simple apartment in the city. Nothing fancy, nothing showy, just mine. A place that didn't have Margaret's condescending judgment hanging over it. A place where I didn't have to worry about someone else taking what I worked for. And damn, it felt good. Margaret's downfall. I hadn't heard from Lauren since the divorce hearing, but that didn't mean she had disappeared. 2 weeks later, I saw her name in the news again, linked to Margaret's fraud investigation. Apparently, the feds were digging deeper into Margaret's financial crimes, and Lauren's name was coming up a little too often. I wasn't surprised. Lauren had always relied on Margaret to clean up her messes, to handle the boring details of her finances. to make sure she could spend recklessly without ever worrying about where the money came from. Now, the woman she trusted most was selling her out to save herself. Margaret had flipped. Faced with the possibility of serious jail time, she did what all cowards do when the walls close in. She started talking. About Lauren's hidden accounts. About the money laundering. About how Lauren had helped move stolen funds. And just like that, the golden girl of high society was now a liability. Lauren wasn't arrested, but she was being investigated. She was blacklisted from her old social circles. Her former friends stopped returning her calls. And Margaret? She was rotting in a jail cell, while Lauren was left to scramble for survival. And me? I didn't feel sorry for her. Not even a little. The unexpected message. One night, about a month after the divorce, I got a text from an unknown number. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time, already knowing who it was. Lauren. I debated ignoring it, but something in me wanted to see what she had to say. So I replied. About what? The dots appeared, vanished, reappeared. She was hesitating. Then, I just want to apologize. I sat back, eyebrows raising slightly. Apologize? Lauren didn't apologize. She excused. She justified. She deflected. But this was different. I debated how to respond. Then I typed. Go ahead. Her reply came quickly. I messed up. I was selfish. I was blinded by money and status, and I took you for granted. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I exhaled slowly. A year ago, those words would have meant everything to me. Now, they meant nothing. I could almost hear her voice trembling, could almost picture her sitting alone, typing that message from some small apartment she was forced to downgrade to. But it didn't matter. Not anymore. So I typed back. I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. A long pause. Then, I know. I nodded to myself, setting the phone down. That was the last message I ever received from Lauren. Looking forward, the next few months were the best of my life. I traveled, something I had never been able to do without Lauren dictating every detail. I focused on work, climbed the ranks, built a name for myself without anyone spending my money faster than I could make it. I went out with friends again, laughed in a way I hadn't laughed in years. And, for the first time since meeting Lauren, I realized something. I had confused love with obligation. I had mistaken comfort for happiness. And now I finally understood what freedom felt like. The coffee shop moment. One day, months after it all ended, I was sitting at a coffee shop, enjoying a quiet morning. And that's when I saw her. Lauren. She looked different. She wasn't dressed in designer clothes. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. The confidence she used to wear like armor was gone. For a second, just a second, she looked like a normal person. Like someone who had fallen from a life they thought would last forever. Our eyes met. She hesitated. Then, slowly, she gave me a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of everything that had happened. I nodded back. And that was it. She didn't approach me. I didn't approach her. We simply existed in the same space for a moment before she walked away. And as I watched her disappear down the street, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No longing. Just peace. Because Lauren was just someone I used to know. And I was finally free.